There's nothing quite like doing a 10-minute video and then realizing that the camera wasn't on. Hello. So this is just for my purposes, really, more than anything. This is just a sort of log. I'm documenting my transition. So this is 1 month on tea. Obviously, early on, you wouldn't expect anything like crazy to happen in a month, but I made a list, and maybe not on the outside a lot of things happen, but from me, from the inside, it seems like a lot of things are happening, which is good. I'm on testo gel, which there's a myth that it's not as effective as injections, which is not true. And so the fact that so many things have been happening the first month is a testament to that. So I feel quite good about that. I'm going to get my first blood tests in 3 months, or rather in 2 months now. So at 3 months, I will get that just to see whether the levels are kind of what you want them to be. So I tried to recall, I just wrote this today, so I tried to recall all the things that have been happening over the past month. And I remember the first time I applied the gel. I do it at night. So the first time I applied it at night, the first thing that I noticed was a few hours after I applied it, a few hours later, in the middle of the night, it wasn't that I got horny, but my actual peen got very excited. That was quite memorable because it was just out of the blue, and I very much doubt it would have been a placebo because I was just trying to sleep. For the first few days, I was more alert, and there was a very distinct physical alertness that I could feel sort of just at the bottom of my, you know, that bit where your like adrenaline comes from, or that sensation comes from. That's where I felt it. And it wasn't a mental thing, it was just a physical thing. It's like I was mentally very calm, but physically aroused. Alert, as in aroused, not aroused, aroused. And for the first couple of nights, I couldn't fall asleep very easily. I normally sleep very well, so I've got absolutely no sleeping issues. So for the first couple of nights, I found it more difficult to fall asleep. After the first couple of nights, I became aware of it, and I thought I wanted to see whether it was an actual physical thing that I couldn't change, or whether it was just a mental connection where it was kind of, it needed like resetting in a way, or getting used to it in a way. So I just did some conscious breathing to try to get myself in a more relaxed state to fall asleep, which worked. And I didn't have trouble sleeping after that. I had to do that for the first few days. After that, after the first week or so, I didn't have to do it anymore, and I could just fall asleep same as before. I am kind of a nervous person generally. I've got hypochondria. I can make myself feel things very intensely just by thinking it. So my nervous connection is hyperactive, and I'm aware of that. And, you know, it can be a bad thing and it can be a good thing, but I'm just aware of that. Moving on, something that a lot of people report is feeling hungrier. Now, I wouldn't say I'm feeling hungrier in the sense that I'm starving and I need to eat. It's more of, when I do eat, I can eat more, and I have more of a desire to eat more. So this was the first few days. Also in the first few days, I noticed bottom growth. Quite literally looked in the mirror, was like, oh my God, that's a difference. The voice, there was a bit more, um, a bit more unsettledness in the voice, cracking here and there. I could sort of notice it, that it would be quite a bit lower. Over the first few weeks, a bit more of the thin hairs coming in on my face. I already had them in quite a few places, but I noticed the chin, I noticed that they're probably getting longer. It's difficult to tell without like measuring them, but they are getting longer, and the chin ones are sort of, they're migrating a little bit more sideways, I noticed. But that's the sort of thing that should take quite a long time to really make itself obvious. I did get the period that I was supposed to get, but I didn't get the PMS mood changes that I got for my previous pre-T periods. I've been masturbating more. I would probably liken it to my first puberty, sort of quite consistent masturbating, whereas before it was actually really rare, like very, very occasional. Sometimes sporadically. I mean, it's hard really to pinpoint because there's a million things that really could be at play, but maybe a few more periods of feeling more restless, kind of like being in school and just wanting to get out of it, and not wanting to just sit down and do something that is really boring for a long time. Also, maybe less dexterous connected to that. I found myself being less precise with my fingers, just maybe connected to the overactive energy. I think my boobs are a little bit less plump. They're not smaller, it's just the plumpness, the plumpness. I can't describe it in any way. Anyway, that was the last thing. I think overall it's really exciting. There are a few of these things, if not most of these things, that I didn't necessarily have my hopes up for to get in the first month. So I thought, okay, well, I'm not going to expect anything for like the first, like at least 3 months. So to have got these things in the first month is really encouraging, that the gel works perfectly fine and that I can expect more changes over the coming months. I'm making these sort of monthlies to record. I am going to get my hair cut. I promise the month 2 video is going to have cut hair in a more appropriate shape. To record the voice, because that's the thing that is really obvious over the months, and you can clip them and just have really short clips, month 1, 2, 3, 4, and really see that progression happen very quickly and in a really surprising, significant way. Also the face. The face is something that could potentially be changing as well. And I suppose just recording these things, because it's very easy to get over them. For example, when I first applied the gel the first night, it was a freaking event. I'm not joking. I made a Spotify playlist called The Night I Started Tea. That is how serious that was. And the first few days was being really aware of every little thing that was happening. And then as I settled into it and those things weren't happening as much anymore, I got over them, I forgot about them, I didn't necessarily dwell on them. So it's very easy to kind of move in one direction and look forward to the future and kind of get, not care about the past anymore. So I just wanted to have one form of a record for all of these things.